And so it begins. Uh-oh. Upon departure from Yania, whatever, you receive an incoming message. Greetings, human Aranshats. This message is from Adrani. Return to Gegno at the first opportunity given to you. Alright, well, there we go. Meanwhile, I'm gonna not save this game anyway, but you know what? I'm curious. See what happens. Oh, looks like you're dead. Oh, I can't capture it. Well, that's weird. Okay, yeah, just did that. Well, that's interesting. It's a non-capturable ship. Which, you know, whatever. Non-boardable either. So I have to go all the way back here, so at least this mission chain is actually, you know, getting started. Let's see here. We need to, like, get our ram scoops going. But this star seems like some type of either pulsar or whatever. But, you know, whatever. Let's see if this other system has a better sun. Well, looks like I have enough to keep going, so off we go. Let's fill up. Oh, okay, everyone's got their stuff going. This might be it. Maybe we're gonna actually get some Gegno action. I had a feeling I had to go to the Quarg. The Quarg would be like, oh, they're complaining that you're in your space. It's like, big deal. Alright. Oh, that's going to refill that one. Alright, here we go! Well, it beat me to the punch. Why are people, like, jumping out and jumping back in like morons? Remember when, like, the game did not spread out jumps across the system and you were pretty tight before? Oh, that one's out of, well, it doesn't matter. Let's go see what this Quarg wants. Alright, here we go. Once you land on the ring world, you are greeted by a small group of Quarg who quickly motion you to follow them. They escort you through various halls of the ring, which still appear to lack the presence of any Gegno. Down at the end of the next corridor, you see Adrauni waiting for you, though beside it a Gegno in some form of strange attire. Once you meet up with them, the other Quarg head off in a different direction, and the Adrauni begin walking down another hallway. Please indulge in accompanying us. As you follow them, Adrauni begins to speak while holding out one arm. If you may, as humans say, humor me. What do you suspect was the result of my negotiations with the Gegno? I don't know. Adrauni turns you briefly, staring at you blankly, then turns to the Gegno and mutters something in their language before responding to you. And why is it that you are unsure? I don't know anything about them. I really don't know anything about them. After a pause, Adrauni turns to you, glares at you briefly, then looks back forward as the three of you continue through the ring. Quite an important conclusion, is that not? Many times I have said this, that the Gegno are not what I would consider humans. That the Gegno are not what I would consider humans to possess knowledge of. Should you learn more, I'm afraid that even that the Gegno do not contrastingly desire. What was the human word camaraderie? The Gegno then asks something in their language, and Adrauni begins a somewhat lengthy conversation with them. There must be something I can do. You walk in silence for an awkward period of time. The strange architecture of the ring world does little to comfort you. It feels like you've walked down the same path several times now. A few moments later, you eventually begin following Adrauni and the Gegno down what appears to be a different section, though it is strangely wider than the previous ones. Before you begin asking more questions, Adrauni finally replies, "It is apparent that you may understand something of your fragile circumstance. It is no longer what I, rather the Quarg, can do for you. It is what you can do for yourself." The Gegno leaves the two of you upon the entrance to a separate hallway, and you follow Adrauni to one last stop. You are at the end of your seemingly long trip through the ring world, finding yourself back where you started, the docking facility where your ship is stationed. Although it felt like a dizzying maze to follow the Adrauni back to here, you can't help but imagine how much more confusing it would be to explore the entirety of a ring world, considering that it was only several minutes worth. Adrauni stops and turns to you, slightly lowering itself to speak closer to your own height. "You must seek audience on your own, tenacious behalf. Visit the Gegno homeworld of Du'ech. Present yourself in a manner that you desire to be perceived. Only then will you find your desired answer." Got it. Done. Won't they prevent me from landing? Contrarily, I rather believe them to be expecting of you. Do you remember you must hail the planet for clearance? Thank you. I'm not going to even ask, could you just ask? Thank you. I will leave now. Safe travels, Aranchats. I aspire for your daring decisions to befit the wise on your journey ahead. Adrauni gives you a lengthy bow, then leaves the hangar. You get the feeling that this might have been the last time you meet with it. As you return to your ship, a few other Quarg who have been watching the conversation from afar also return to their normal routine, as if nothing has happened. Now, it is up to you to see for yourself whether or not the Gegno will accept you. And we will find out right now. Let's see what's happening. See, Gegno action, Gegno missions we are in. I'm going to hail the planet. It said I must hail the planet first, which I will do. I'm not just going to land, I'm going to hail the planet. I caught up on that. Let's see if that's actually... Alright. Land. Hail T. I hailed the planet, nothing happened. Let's get in there and see what happens. Here we go. The Gegno display caution once more as fleets of both V and Sin ships orbit their homeworld while you begin your descent. A few smaller Gegno ships from each fleet follow you down to the planet's surface, forming up in front of you to lead you to your destination. Once you pass through several layers of smog, you're once again flying around the towering castle-like cities of the Gegno homeworld. Eventually, you are led away from the busyness of the cities to a more remote area with a massive structure shrouded by the smog, possibly the one you visited the first time you were here. The activity around it, however, seems much smaller compared to anything thus far. Rather than the one docking port alongside the tower, the Gegno ships instead direct you to the base of the structure, obscured by another dark cloud of smog. When you reach the structure, the Gegno ships hold their position above while you park your ship on the ground. The area seems devoid of any other Gegno, almost haltingly so. Guess what I'm doing? I'm exiting the ship. The outside environment appears to be safe for humans, being something similar to the conditions on Earth, even if it were more polluted than it already is. Donning your sidearm in case of an emergency, you exit your ship. The Gegno in the ships above intently watch your every move, and apart from the distant thrum of their engines, it is eerily quiet. Before too long, you notice a shadowed figure in the smoke ahead of your ship, carrying a long staff of some sort. A lone Gegno exits the smoke cloud, slowly approaching you. They stop a couple of meters away from you, and although it's a little hard to tell, I knew it. You're almost certain that this is the Gegno V that you first met on that desert planet from before. The only difference in their appearance is some kind of red band on their left arm. At this point, any action you take would solely be at your own discretion. However, there is only one choice left for you to make. I come all the way here just to leave, or I meet with them. Which do you think I'm going to do? Boom. You decide to continue your endeavor. considering you're back on their homeworld and they haven't shown any signs of wanting you off as of yet. There's no point in throwing all your progress away. As you approach the Gegno, it indeed seems to be the only one you've met in the past. The ships above suddenly fly off, and the Gegno turns around, beginning to head for the massive tower that stands in front of you. The tower ahead of you is truly a sight to behold. It appears to be larger and taller than anything in human architecture, yet it looks very old, noticeably so, compared to the portions you've seen higher up in the clouds of dark smog. The base, which grows larger as the tower gets taller, is lined with rows of torch-like structures with flames reaching high above them. The interior is just as intriguing. The first area you enter looks like it almost came straight out of some old medieval fantasy. Everything looks rocky and sculpted in appearance, although some entrances seem to be made of newer metallic materials. You wonder if all Gegno architecture is built like this, but your curiosity is cut short when the Gegno, who has been many steps ahead of you, grunts and gestures for you to enter a cage-like platform at the other side of an enormous room. There's only one thing to do. Enter the cage. Thankfully, the cage is not anything like a jail cell, with the clank of chains and other indeterminate sounds. You begin to ascend upwards to wherever your next destination may be. However, the shaking and clanging of the lift doesn't exactly ease your mind. All of a sudden, you start to hear a deep, methodical rumble coming from above you. In that same instant, you're hit with a gust of air. Your cage is outside the building, and it is rocketing upward with only the support of a few rails and pulleys. Surrounding the core of the tower in front of you are other large metal pulley systems with the Gegno in one to your left. With the Gegno in one to your left in the distance. As you're ascending, you see many Gegno are lined up on several balconies at different levels of the tower, playing large timpani-like drums in a steady rhythm. Occasionally, they'll yell or play horn-like instruments. A few more minutes of drumming, several layers of smog, and what feels like an altitude sickness all assail you until the lift arrives at the very top of the tower. A huge circular platform out in the open with a group of Gegno wearing various fashions of armor, formed up around a large table or display grid of sorts, with several models of plants and ships on top of it. A ring of electronic torches flanking each edge of the platform, extending upward towards the darkened sky. The Gegno that has guided you here gestures for you to go join them at the location among the others. I'm going to the Gegno. Once you reach the other Gegno, the drumming comes to an abrupt halt. Shown in the center of the display is some text, none of which you can understand. Three Gegno standing next to one another, separate from everyone else, begin speaking in low, booming voices. Their language is incomprehensible. One is very bulky and looks like the kind of Gegno that belong to the V faction, while the other two are smaller. All three of them are wearing the same set of intricate armor with fancy protrusions, drapes, and other details. All of the other Gegno present are various builds, though none of them are wearing any colors indicating a faction. Some of them gaze towards you occasionally, while others pay you no attention at all. The awkwardness of the situation increases as several minutes pass, during which some Gegno from the crowd step up to the opposite side of the table from the trio and have a discussion. You look over to your Gegno guide standing next to you, their gaze locked on the conversations ahead. One of the trio finally calls them over, placing a model of a desert planet on the table, the one where this all started. A heavy discussion follows, and while you watch your guide, you realize that they are the only Gegno with the red band on their arm. The other Gegno in the crowd don't seem very pleased that their discussion continues. Though it felt like it might not happen, the moment comes where the bulkiest of the trio directly gestures to you. The tension of the situation skyrockets as they say something in their language and motion for you to stand across from them. All of the other Gegno are now staring you down, waiting as your guide heads off to the side. What is there left to do? To approach the trio or remain where you stand? Why would I remain where I stand, right? You approach. Any Gegno in your path march out of your way as you approach the center of the platform. You're in the spotlight now, and the silence is deafening. As soon as you stop at the trio, a few images of the Sapira personal ship in different contexts comes up on the table's monitor, and one of the trio moves several planet miniatures which correspond to the ones you visited in Gegno space. Following another brief moment of silence, one which seemingly everyone weathers with anticipation, one of the three addresses you in their language at a lower volume than they were speaking before. Here we go. Eu udiam Gegno thesis, udi ti arets ofor ti pietio. Pietio. Haha. So let's see here. What can we extract from this? What could we glom from this? I have no idea. Are you asking me something about the Gegno? I would like to work out something with the Gegno. I'm sorry, I don't understand what you are saying. So, all things, but I'm not sure which one to actually use. So let's see here. The first one. Are you asking me something about the Gegno? That's a question. It's not a statement. The second one is a statement. I would like to work something out with the Gegno. And the third one is also a statement. I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're saying. Which is basically I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're saying. So the third one I think is out. The second one is a possibility, but like, I would like to work something out with the Gegno. But they might not even say it. They might say like, hey, are you a piece of crap? And then you're like, I don't know. And the first one is inquisitive. It's saying like, I'm trying to understand you. I don't understand, right? I think the first one's how we're going to do this. Are you asking me something about the Gegno? Oh, here we go. The Gegno stares at you, then looks at the display, which is slowly panning between the situations you found yourself in. A more detailed image of the desert planet, different than the first one, comes onto the display. Alongside it are many graphics, one representing a platoon of V warriors, the unique Gegno ship you saw there, and a few words scrolling by, possibly the names of each warrior that was present that day. Next to the name of the planet is a similar graphic of the one whose giant sandworm you fought, suggesting that they are found on other desert worlds beyond the first one. An image of the two distinct ships comes up, matching a pair of models on the table. One of them is the same type of V ship you first came across in the sand on the desert world, and the other is a Sin ship that looks like a derivative of other Gegno ships. You hear someone in the crowd yell loudly in what might be a disappointment, but they are silenced by the Gegno trio. One of the more prominent situations is the one that involved a large battle between the V and the Sin over a moon orbiting a forest world. A long list of phrases scroll by with the graphics of different Gegno ships next to them, probably those who took part in said battle. The Gegno around you murmur to each other, occasionally grunting. On the far end of the table, you see a small model of an ice moon. Nothing else comes up regarding it. After having gone through all the cases which involved you, the trio addresses the gathering once more with a big speech. Their voices echo through the outside air, and all the Gegno respond with concurrent bellows or chants, followed by more silence. Oddly enough, you feel as though you're standing among them as part of a gathering rather than as some foreign alien. You aren't restricted at all, even with a weapon on you. One of the smaller Gegno in the trio gestures back to you and speaks once more. You still don't understand a word they're saying, but it must have been important, as all the other Gegno, except your guide, back away several steps. The trio members invite you with both arms to use the objects and the table, while all three of them back up themselves, leaving you alone in the open. Alright, I'm going to approach the table, and I'm going to try to explain the incidents, because staying there and doing nothing is stupid. Walking up to the table, you try your hardest to explain each situation one by one. Since you can't read or do anything with the actual display on the monitor, you try picking up the models which nobody seems to be bothered by. At the same time, you gesture using your hands, mainly representing your ship flying away. You wonder if anything makes sense to any Gegno. But they don't seem to be paying attention to your words or actions. Rather, they seem to respond to the tone and emotion of them. After doing your best to describe everything, you back away from the table. The trio march back up to it, discussing a response among themselves. They then start moving all the models aside if they're setting up for something. Surprising both of you and the other Gegno, an image of the planet Earth appears on the monitor. Uh-oh. There's no way the Gegno have ever left the borders of their own territory, let alone visited human space. How they got this image is a mystery, but the fact that is an actual But the fact is that an image of the ancestral homeworld of humanity is right in front of you. The member of the Gegno trio that has spoken the least then steps forward, but instead of heading to the table, they make their way directly to you. Do nothing. Now standing not even 2 meters in front of you, the Gegno looks at you intently. An image of the world you're on right now slides over the one on Earth, and the Gegno points to it. Gegno dis... I think they're saying, like, is this where you're from? Gegno Jewish each here. Each is Gegno. Oh, I bet you... I suspect that they're asking to come to Earth. The image shifts back to Earth with the Gegno still pointing at the screen. Hey you, dear... The Gegno motions toward the ground at your feet. So... the Gegno... I'm going to say Dayu Earth, I think. The Gegno leans closer to your height and displays a peculiar expression, possibly one of disapproval. You panic a little, and some of the others seem surprised that they got this close to you. They then speak in a low rumble, somewhat of a whisper spoken aloud. Ayud id kio de deu. Getting back up, the Gegno head back to the other two behind them. With a sense of finality, the trio beckons to the crowd and begins another long speech. An image of a space station appears on the screen, and a large discussion begins between the other Gegno, who formed back up with each other. Some arguments between various Gegno in the audience start happening. Meanwhile, your Gegno guide bumps into you and starts to direct you away from the discussion, back to the cage lift with nobody else batting an eye. Several minutes later, you are escorted back to the base of the tower, which is now surrounded by a large group of Gegno civilians, all gawking at the two of you. You're led back to your ship, with your head spinning slightly, unsure what to make of the whole encounter, as they did the first time you were with them on the desert planet. The Gegno heads for your ship and hands you a small compass device, this time marking a different location on the map. At the very least, you could take this as an indication they are not done with you yet, so you prepare to travel to your next destination. Yes! Yes! This is it. This is it. We're gonna go to the next one, and this is gonna be fantastic. We're gonna continue this. I think we're on. This is great when they put new content in for lore. So we're into the Gegno. Let's see where this takes us.